Do you want to start using your camera in manual mode for photography, but you are afraid manual mode is hard to use, hard to understand, hard to grasp? Whether you are using Nikon, Canon, Sony, Lumix camera, why not I show you a method that is applicable across camera brands, easy to grasp, easy to understand, easy to repeat, and over 90% of images you capture using this method will be usable. Let's get into it. Our main subject is this three bonsai tree here. This is what we are taking picture of. And the first thing to do is find the appropriate placement. And I think that looks nice. But then we have to improve this environment so that it looks unique. And I have a few tweaks here. But now the background is like, it is overwhelming. But still, this one is overwhelming. Now I think that will work. Let us start taking the pictures. This is how the back of our camera looks. And what I need us to focus on here is the exposure meter. Right here. You can see there's the center, there's 1, 2, 3 to the left. There's 1, 2, 3 to the right. So now if the exposure meter is at 0, which is center, referred to as 0 EV. Let me take it to 0 EV. Right about there, you can see now the marker on the exposure meter is at 0 EV. It means the image will be correctly exposed. So if I take a picture right now, it will be correctly exposed. Let us do that. We have captured this image. It should be correctly exposed. But sometimes we want to give character to the images we capture. So we might want to brighten them or darken them. Now you can see that the marker on the exposure meter has moved to the right, and it is right now on 1, and the image should be overexposed. So if you want an image that looks like this one, that is what you end up with. And other times we want the image to be dark. Okay, let us focus and take the picture. Now the image looks dark, as you can see here. So how do we achieve this? Right now I am only changing one factor. My camera is on a tripod, and what I am playing around with is shutter speed. So if I want my images to be dark, I use a faster shutter speed. Right now it is at 80, 60. Right now it is at 30, and at 30 if I take the picture, it will be slightly dark. If I want the image to be brighter, I will slow the shutter speed. So you can see at 1 second, the image is extremely overexposed, and when we go to 4 seconds, let me first remove this foreground element here. Now the focus is on our subject, and at 4 seconds, you can see the exposure meter is showing that the image is overexposed. So if we take the picture, we have an overexposed image. So now if you want to master manual mode, you can select a parameter that you'll be playing around with. If you, for instance, set to ISO 200, aperture is set to 5.0, you can play around with the shutter speed to get the outcome that you want. But if you are hand holding the camera is not on a tripod, in that case you need a shutter speed that will give you a sharp image, and for this I use 1/100th of a second, and then I play around with the aperture. And right now I can only go to a maximum of 4.5, but the image is still dark. So what will I do? I'll increase the ISO, and at ISO 800, ISO 1600, the image is correctly exposed. So what you need to do is play around with these parameters: ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. And what determines the parameter you play around with is other factors like, is the camera on a tripod, or are you hand holding the camera? Does your camera give you clean images at ISO 1600 or 1000 ISO? For a camera like this Canon 800D, I don't go beyond ISO 400 for photos because I want my photos to be clean, and also for video I don't go beyond ISO 400. For that reason, if I set my ISO to 400, I will not change that. Instead, I might lower the shutter speed and try as much as I can to hand hold the camera properly, so that even if I am hand holding the camera, I end up with a sharp image. And where hand holding the camera is not an option, I will make sure to use a tripod. So the easiest way to do it is select the ISO that works best for your camera, that gives you the cleanest image. Rock that ISO. In my case here is ISO 400. So now that will not change whatever the reason. Then select the aperture that will give you the image that you want. If you want a sharp image, let us for this case use f5.6. And then what I need to do is find if the image is overexposed or not. And if I am getting a 40th of a second, in that case, not using a tripod is not an option. So if I have to take this image, I will have to use a tripod, because I know 40th of a second hand holding will incorporate motion blur in my image, and I don't want to capture blurry images. And like in this case here, now you can see that I am getting a correct exposure at 13th of a second. Hand holding that will be very difficult. I will hand hold, but I will end up with an image that is not sharp. So in this case, I must use a tripod. But in situations where I am getting a correct exposure at any shutter speed above 80th of a second, in those cases I will hand hold the camera, and I will know that the image will not have motion blur. It will be sharp, it will be clean, and those are the factors that you need to watch in order to use manual mode the right way. And sometimes if you feel like this is overwhelming, you can just take your camera to AV mode, and you can see what the camera decides to do. In AV mode, you just set your ISO and you set your aperture, and the camera will select the shutter speed. And in this case, the camera has used 1/10 of a second. And in your mind, you know anything below 80th of a second, and holding that is difficult. So what do? You use a tripod.
JM Photography Creation Imagement.